Jake Martinez stepped off the transport shuttle and looked around in wonder. The Galactic Military Academy stretched out before him like something from his wildest dreams. Massive crystal towers reached toward the artificial sky, and flying vehicles moved between them like metal birds. Alien beings of every shape and size walked through the corridors, their voices creating a symphony of strange sounds. He was the first human ever to attend the academy. The weight of that fact pressed down on his shoulders as he walked through the entrance hall. Other cadets stopped to stare at him. Some whispered to each other in languages he could not understand. Jake kept his head high and tried to look confident. Even though his heart was beating fast, a tall, blue-skinned alien approached him. She had 4 arms and eyes that glowed like stars. "You must be the human," she said in perfect English. "I am Zara. I will show you around." Jake nodded and followed her through the corridors. The academy was huge, with training rooms, classrooms, and living areas spread across multiple levels. Through the windows, he could see the vast emptiness of space dotted with distant stars. "Your room is on level 7, Zara explained as they walked. "You'll share it with 3 other cadets. They are good students, but they might be curious about you. Humans are still new to most of us." They entered a large elevator that moved, sideways as well as up and down. Jake tried not to show his amazement, but everything here was so different from Earth. The technology was centuries ahead of anything he had seen before. "Tell me about your world," Zara said as they traveled. "We have heard stories, but they seem hard to believe." Jake thought about how to explain Earth to someone who had never been there. "It is a dangerous place," he said finally. "The weather can kill you. The animals hunt you. Even the plants can be poisonous. But it is home." Zara's eyes widened. "And humans live there without protection?" "We adapt," Jake said simply. "We learn to survive." They reached level 7, and Zara led him to a room marked with strange symbols. Inside, 3 alien cadets were waiting. The first was covered in thick, rocky skin that looked like armor. The second was tall and thin with green scales. The third looked like a walking tree with branches for arms. "This is Kor," Zara said, pointing to the rock-covered alien. "He comes from a world with gravity 3 times stronger than yours. His people are natural warriors." Kor stood up and towered over Jake. He was at least 8 feet tall and probably weighed as much as a small car. "So you are the human," he said in a deep voice. "You look fragile." Jake met his gaze without flinching. "Looks can be deceiving." The scaled alien stepped forward. "I am Vex. My world is covered in poison gas. My people breathe death itself." He gestured to his green skin. "This protects me from toxins that would kill most beings in seconds." The tree-like alien rustled his branches. "I am Groot. My people can regrow lost limbs and survive in the vacuum of space. We are very hard to kill." Jake nodded to each of them. "I am Jake. Nice to meet you all." "What special abilities do humans have?" Vex asked. "Your world is listed as a death world, but you look so normal." Before Jake could answer, a loud alarm echoed through the room. All the cadets immediately stood at attention. Heavy footsteps approached down the hallway. The door opened, and a massive reptilian creature entered. He was covered in scales that looked like black metal, and his eyes glowed red. 2 smaller aliens followed behind him, carrying datapads. "I am Commander Velanoth," the reptilian said in a voice like grinding stone. "I run this academy. You will follow my orders without question. You will train harder than you have ever trained before. Many of you will fail. Some of you will die." He walked around the room, studying each cadet. When he reached Jake, he stopped and stared down at him. "The human," he said. "Your species has requested a place in our military. We will see if you are worthy. Jake stood straighter. I will do my best, sir. Commander Velinov laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Your best may not be enough. This academy is designed for the strongest warriors in the galaxy. We do not make exceptions for weakness. One of the smaller aliens handed Jake a large bag. Your survival equipment, the commander explained. Environmental suit, energy shields, atmospheric regulators, and emergency medical supplies. Without these, you will die in the first training exercise. Jake took the bag, surprised by how heavy it was. The other cadets had received similar equipment, but theirs seemed much smaller and lighter. Your first lesson begins in 1 hour, Commander. Velinov continued. You will learn basic survival in hostile environments. Report to Training Room Delta 7. Do not be late. The commander and his assistants left the room. Jake opened his bag and pulled out the environmental suit. It was bulky and covered in blinking lights and tubes. He had never worn anything like it before. That is a heavy-duty model, Kor observed. They must think you are very fragile. My people do not need such protection, Vex added. Our natural abilities keep us safe. Jake held up the suit and tried to figure out how to put it on. I guess I will have to learn. Groot helped him with the straps and connections. Do not worry, he said kindly. We all had to learn new things when we came here. The first days are always hard. As Jake struggled with the unfamiliar equipment, he thought about his home on Earth. He had grown up in the mountains of Colorado, where winter storms could kill you and wild animals were a constant threat. He had learned to survive in conditions that would terrify most people. But here, surrounded by beings who could breathe poison and survive in space, he felt small and weak. Are you ready? Zara asked, appearing in the doorway. It is time for your first training session. Jake nodded, though the environmental suit made it hard to move. As they walked toward the training room, he wondered if he had made a terrible mistake in coming here. The other cadets moved with confidence, their natural abilities making them seem invincible. He was just a human from a dangerous world, wearing borrowed equipment and trying to keep up with beings who seemed like gods. But as they entered the training room and saw the challenges that awaited them, Jake felt something stir inside him. It was the same feeling he had gotten when climbing dangerous peaks or surviving blizzards back home. It was the knowledge that he had survived worse than this, even if nobody else knew it yet. The real test was about to begin. Training Room Delta 7 was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. The walls, floor, and ceiling were covered in black metal that seemed to absorb light. Strange machines hummed and clicked around the edges of the room. In the center was a large platform that glowed with blue energy. Commander Velinov stood waiting as the cadets filed in. His red eyes swept over them like searchlights. Today you will learn the basics of survival, he announced. The galaxy is full of hostile environments. Vacuum, radiation, toxic gases, extreme temperatures. If you cannot survive these conditions, you will die in your first real mission. He pointed to the glowing platform. This is a combat simulator. It can create any environment found in known space. We will start with something simple. He turned to one of his assistants. Load program 7 Alpha. The room suddenly changed. The walls became transparent, showing the black emptiness of space. Stars glittered in the distance. The platform beneath their feet became a rocky asteroid spinning slowly through the void. Asteroid field navigation, the commander explained. Low gravity, no atmosphere, radiation exposure. Your environmental suits will protect you, but you must learn to move and fight in these conditions. Jake felt the weight of his bulky suit as the artificial gravity decreased. The other cadets seemed to adjust quickly. Kor's rocky skin protected him from the radiation, while Vex's breathing apparatus filtered the thin air. Groot's tree-like body swayed but remained stable. "Begin the course," Commander Velenoth ordered. A series of obstacles appeared on the asteroid's surface. Metal barriers, energy fields, and spinning platforms created a maze that the cadets had to navigate. Jake watched as his roommates moved through the course with natural grace. Kor's heavy body was perfect for the low gravity, letting him leap between platforms with ease. Vex slithered around obstacles like water. Groot used his branch arms to swing across gaps. Jake tried to follow them, but his environmental suit made everything difficult. The bulky helmet limited his vision. The heavy boots made his steps clumsy. The air recycling system hissed and whirred, distracting him from the task at hand. He stumbled on the first obstacle, barely catching himself before falling. The other cadets were already halfway through the course, while he was still struggling with the basics. He could hear whispers from the watching aliens. "The human is too slow. Look how he struggles with simple movement. Perhaps Deathworlders are not as tough as we thought." Jake gritted his teeth and pushed forward. He had not come this far to give up now. Step by step, he made his way through the course. His movements were awkward and uncertain, but he kept going. Then disaster struck. As he was jumping between two platforms, his environmental suit malfunctioned. Warning lights flashed red inside his helmet. The air recycling system made a grinding noise and stopped working. The suit's computer voice spoke in his ear. "Life support failure. Seek immediate shelter." Jake felt the suit's internal atmosphere beginning to leak away. The other cadets would have been in serious danger, but something strange happened. Instead of panic, Jake felt a sense of relief. The restrictive helmet was no longer pressing against his head. The heavy boots were no longer weighing him down. He removed the damaged helmet and breathed the thin, irradiated air of the simulated asteroid. It burned his lungs slightly, but he had experienced worse during high-altitude training back on Earth. The radiation levels that would have been dangerous to most aliens were similar to what he had experienced during mountain climbing at extreme elevations. Without the bulky equipment, Jake's movements became smooth and confident. He navigated the remaining obstacles with surprising speed, his body adapting to the low gravity and harsh conditions. He passed Vex, then Groot, and finally caught up to Kor at the finish line. Commander Velenoth stared at him in shock. "Cadet Martinez, your environmental suit has failed. You should be dead." Jake looked down at the damaged equipment scattered around his feet. "I feel fine, sir." "The radiation levels are lethal to most species," the commander said. "The atmosphere is too thin to breathe. How are you alive?" "I guess humans are tougher than we look," Jake replied. Dr. Kala, the Academy's medical officer, rushed over with her scanning equipment. She was a graceful alien with silver skin and multiple eyes. Her instruments beeped and clicked as she examined. "Jake, fascinating," she murmured. "His cellular structure is adapting to the radiation. His lungs are processing the thin atmosphere efficiently. His body temperature is adjusting to the cold. How is this possible?" Jake shrugged. "We adapt. It is what humans do." The other cadets gathered around, staring at him with new interest. Kor's rocky face showed confusion. "You breathe poison air and survive killing radiation without protection? It is not that bad," Jake said honestly. "I have trained in worse conditions on Earth." Vex's green scales shifted color, a sign of amazement in his species. "Your world must be truly terrible if this is considered mild." "We just call it Tuesday," Jake said with a smile. Dr. Kala continued her scans. "I need to run more tests. This is unprecedented. Your species may be far more resilient than we realized." Over the following days, Jake's performance continued to improve. Each training exercise became easier as he learned to work with his natural abilities rather than against them. The environmental suit that had once hindered him was modified to be lighter and less restrictive. His fellow cadets began to treat him differently. Where once there had been pity, now there was respect. Kor asked him about Earth's dangers. Vex wanted to know how humans survived without natural armor or toxic resistance. Groot was fascinated by human adaptability. "Your people are like us," Groot said one evening as they shared a meal. "We bend, but do not break. We find ways to survive." Jake nodded. "Every human child learns to adapt or die. Our world does not allow weakness." "But you do not look strong," Kor observed. "You have no armor, no natural weapons, no special abilities." "Maybe that is our strength," Jake said. "We cannot rely on built-in protection, so we learn to handle anything." The conversations in the dormitory changed as well. Instead of stories about natural abilities, the cadets began discussing different types of survival challenges. Jake shared tales of surviving blizzards, floods, and wild animal attacks. His roommates listened with growing amazement. "You fight predators with your bare hands?" Vex asked. "Sometimes," Jake admitted. "Usually we use tools or weapons. But if you are caught without them, you do what you must." "And your young learn these skills?" Groot wanted to know. "All human children learn basic survival. It is part of growing up on Earth." Commander Velinoth had been watching Jake's progress with interest. During a private meeting with Dr. Kala, he expressed his concerns. "The human is performing better than expected," he said. "But I'm not sure our training methods are appropriate for his species." Dr. Kala nodded. "My research shows that humans are remarkably adaptable. Their bodies can adjust to conditions that would kill most aliens. Perhaps we should modify our approach. Or perhaps," the commander said slowly, "we should let the human show us what he can really do." The next training exercise was scheduled for the following week. It would take place in one of the Academy's most challenging environments, a volcanic world with toxic atmosphere and crushing gravity. Most cadets would need their heaviest protection to survive. Jake spent the evening before the exercise checking his equipment one final time. The modified environmental suit was lighter than before, but still felt restrictive. As he prepared for sleep, he wondered what new challenges awaited him. In the darkness of the dormitory, he could hear his roommates breathing. Kor's breathing was slow and steady, like a sleeping mountain. Vex made soft hissing sounds. Groot's branches rustled gently in the recycled air. Jake closed his eyes and thought about home. In a few days, he would face his greatest test yet. But for the first time since arriving at the academy, he felt ready for whatever came next. The other cadets were beginning to understand that humans were not as fragile as they appeared. Soon, everyone would know what it truly meant to be a child of Earth. The transport ship shuddered as it descended through the thick atmosphere of Molten Ridge. Jake pressed his face against the window and watched the volcanic landscape roll by below. Rivers of lava carved glowing paths through black rock. Geysers of toxic steam shot hundreds of feet into the air. The sky was a sickly yellow color that spoke of poison and death. "Welcome to hell," Kor muttered as he checked his reinforced environmental suit. The rocky alien's natural armor was tough, but even he needed extra protection on this world. Vex was sealed inside a special containment unit that would protect him from the sulfuric acid rain. His green scales had turned a darker shade, showing his nervousness. "My people would die instantly in this environment," he said. "The chemical composition is all wrong." Groot had modified his bark-like skin to be more resistant to heat and acid. His branch arms were wrapped in protective coverings. "I have grown on worlds with acid rain," he said, "but nothing like this." Jake's environmental suit was the heaviest yet. Dr. Kala had insisted on triple redundancy for all life support systems. The suit's cooling units hummed constantly, fighting against the external temperature of over 200 degrees. The air filtration system worked overtime to remove the deadly gases from the atmosphere. Remember, Commander Velenov's voice crackled through their communicators. This is a survival exercise. You must complete 3 objectives while maintaining life support for 72 hours. Failure means death. The ship landed on a plateau of black volcanic glass. The heat was so intense that the landing pad glowed red. Jake felt the temperature immediately, even through his suit's protection. It was like standing inside an oven. Objective 1, the commander continued, locate and secure the emergency beacon on the far side of the lava field. Objective 2, establish a communication relay on the highest peak. Objective 3, survive until pickup. The cadets gathered their equipment and prepared to leave the ship. Jake's pack was the heaviest because humans needed the most life support. Water, food, air recycling cartridges, and emergency medical supplies weighed him down like an anchor. They stepped onto the surface of Molten Ridge, and Jake immediately felt the hostile environment trying to kill him. The ground was so hot that it would have burned through normal boots in seconds. The air was thick with sulfur dioxide and hydrogen sulfide. The gravity was 1.3 times Earth normal, making every step harder. The first day went smoothly. The cadets worked together to navigate the treacherous terrain. Core used his massive strength to move boulders blocking their path. Vex's chemical knowledge helped them avoid the most dangerous gas vents. Groot's ability to sense underground water sources kept them away from hidden lava tubes. Jake struggled with his heavy equipment, but he kept up with the group. His environmental suit's cooling system worked constantly, making a noise like a small engine. The other cadets began to worry about him as the day wore on. Human, Core said during a rest stop, your suit is working very hard. Are you sure you will be safe? Jake nodded, though sweat was pouring down his face inside his helmet. I am managing. But privately, he was concerned. The suit's power consumption was higher than expected. The cooling system was struggling with the extreme heat. The air recycling units were clogged with volcanic ash. At this rate, his life support would fail long before the 72 hours were up. On the second day, disaster struck. A massive earthquake shook the volcanic plateau, opening new fissures in the ground. Superheated steam shot up from the cracks, and the temperature rose even higher. Jake's environmental suit began to fail. First, the cooling system started making grinding noises. Then the air recycling units began to malfunction. Warning lights flashed red inside his helmet. The suit's computer announced, critical system failure. Seek immediate shelter. The other cadets gathered around him, their faces filled with worry. We need to get you back to the ship, Vex said urgently. The ship is 2 days away, Groot pointed out. He will not survive the journey. Jake looked at his friends and made a decision that would change everything. I am not going back, he said firmly. We have a mission to complete. Before anyone could stop him, Jake began removing his failing environmental suit. The helmet came off first, followed by the heavy chest piece and the bulky leg coverings. Within minutes, he was standing in the hellish environment, wearing only a basic pressure suit and breathing apparatus. Human, no, Core shouted. You will die. But Jake did not die. Instead, something remarkable happened. His body began to adapt to the extreme conditions. His skin temperature rose to match the environment. His breathing adjusted to the thin, toxic air. His muscles compensated for the increased gravity. This is impossible, Vex whispered. No being can survive these conditions without protection. Jake took a deep breath of the superheated air and felt it burn his lungs. But the burn was familiar. It reminded him of training in Death Valley during summer, or climbing volcanic peaks in Hawaii. His body knew how to handle this. I feel better, Already, he said, and he meant it. Without the bulky suit, he could move freely. Without the noisy cooling system, he could hear the subtle sounds of the volcanic landscape. Without the restrictive helmet, he could see clearly. The other cadets watched in amazement as Jake began to move with new confidence. He picked up his pack, which seemed much lighter now that he was not carrying the failed environmental suit. He started walking toward their first objective with steady, sure steps. "How?" Groot asked, his voice filled with wonder. "My planet taught me," Jake replied. "Earth has deserts hotter than this, volcanoes more active than these, air more toxic than what we are breathing. I grew up in those conditions." As they continued their journey, Jake's natural abilities became more apparent. He could sense changes in the volcanic activity by feeling vibrations through his feet. He could tell which areas were safe to walk on by the color of the rock. He could predict gas vents by the smell of the air. When they reached a river of lava blocking their path, Jake studied it carefully. "There," he said, pointing to a narrow section where the lava moved slower. "We can cross there." "That is madness," Kor protested. "The heat will kill us." "Not if we move quickly," Jake said. He pulled out pieces of metal from his pack and showed them how to use them as stepping stones. "Trust me." One by one, they crossed the lava river. Jake went first, moving with the confidence of someone who had done this before. The others followed, their environmental suits protecting them from the worst of the heat. On the far side, they found the emergency beacon buried under volcanic ash. Jake dug it out with his bare hands, his skin now tough enough to handle the abrasive material. The beacon was damaged, but he managed to repair it using basic tools. "Objective 1 complete," he reported to Commander Velenov. The commander's voice was filled with disbelief. "Cadet Martinez, your bio readings show you are outside your environmental suit. This is impossible." "I am fine, sir," Jake replied. Continuing to Objective 2, the climb to the highest peak was treacherous. The mountain was an active volcano, with streams of lava flowing down its sides. The air was so thick with toxic gases that it was like breathing soup. The other cadets struggled with the conditions, their suits working at maximum capacity. Jake climbed steadily, his body adapted to the heat and poison. He helped his friends when their equipment failed. He found safe paths through the dangerous terrain. He carried extra supplies when the others grew tired. At the summit, they installed the communication relay. Jake's steady hands made the delicate connections, while the others provided support. The relay came online, sending a strong signal back to the academy. "Objective 2 complete," Jake reported. "Outstanding work, cadets," Commander Velenov replied. "Return to the landing zone for pickup." The journey back was easier. Jake's confidence had infected the others. They moved as a team, with Jake leading them through the safest routes. His natural instincts guided them around the worst dangers. When they reached the landing zone, the pickup ship was waiting. Commander Velenov was aboard, along with Dr. Kala and several other instructors. They stared at Jake in amazement. "Your species continues to surprise us," the commander said. "I have never seen a cadet survive conditions like these without full environmental protection." Dr. Kala ran her scanners over Jake's body. "Remarkable adaptations," she murmured. "Increased blood flow to extremities, modified lung capacity, ALTERED metabolism. Your body has literally changed to survive this environment." "How long will the changes last?" Vex asked. "They are already fading," Dr. Kala replied. "Within a few hours, he will be back to normal, but the speed of adaptation is incredible." As the ship lifted off from Molten Ridge, Jake looked back at the hellish landscape. It had been challenging, but not impossible. Not for a human who had learned to survive on Earth. "What is your world really like?" Groot asked quietly. Jake thought about how to answer. "Earth is beautiful," he said finally. But beauty and danger often go together. We learn to love our world despite its attempts to kill us. The other cadets were quiet for a long time, processing what they had witnessed. Jake had not just survived impossible conditions. He had thrived in them. He had shown them that humans were not fragile creatures in need of protection. They were something far more dangerous, survivors who could adapt to anything the universe threw at them. The news spread through the academy like wildfire. Jake Martinez, the human cadet, had not only survived the Molten Ridge exercise, but had excelled beyond all expectations. Within days, a second human had arrived at the academy. Lisa Harper was a combat specialist from the mountains of Alaska, with ice blue eyes and the quiet confidence of someone who had faced death many times. "So you are the famous Jake," she said when they met in the academy's main corridor. "I heard you made quite an impression on the volcano world." Jake smiled, just did what felt natural. "Good to have another human here." Lisa nodded. "The brass back home is very interested in how this goes. If we do well, they might send more of us." Word soon came that both humans would face the ultimate test together. Commander Velanoth assembled all the cadets in the main briefing room. The massive reptilian looked more serious than usual as he addressed the group. "In 2 weeks, you will face your final examination," he announced. Gehenna Prime, a planet so hostile that we use it as a prison for the galaxy's most dangerous criminals. You will have 30 days to survive and complete a series of military objectives. A holographic display showed the planet's surface. Gehenna Prime was a nightmare world of acid storms, predatory wildlife, and unstable geology. The atmosphere was poisonous to most species, and the temperature swings could kill unprepared travelers. Most of you will require maximum environmental protection. The commander continued. Full life support systems, energy shields, and armored suits. The planet's conditions are beyond what any normal being can survive. Jake and Lisa exchanged glances. They had both grown up in environments that would be considered hostile by galactic standards. Alaska's wilderness and Colorado's mountains had taught them to survive in conditions that would terrify most aliens. "What equipment do you want?" Commander Velanoth asked them privately after the briefing. "Basic survival gear," Jake replied. "Water purification tablets, some food, a knife, and a communicator. That is all?" The commander's red eyes widened. "The temperature on Gehenna Prime drops to -40 degrees at night. The atmosphere contains sulfuric acid. The wildlife includes creatures that hunt in packs." Lisa shrugged. "Sounds like a normal Tuesday in Alaska." The other cadets spent the next 2 weeks preparing their equipment. Corps people provided him with an advanced armor system that could withstand the planet's acid rain. Vex received a sealed environmental suit with its own atmosphere. Groot was fitted with a bioshield that would protect his organic structure from the hostile environment. Meanwhile, Jake and Lisa trained together, sharing knowledge about survival techniques. They practiced building shelters from local materials, identifying edible plants, and tracking dangerous animals. Their casual attitude toward the upcoming test amazed their alien friends. "Are you not afraid?" Vex asked during dinner one evening. "Fear keeps you alive," Lisa replied. "But panic kills." We learned that lesson early." "Your species is very strange," Groot observed. "You treat deadly challenges like games." Jake laughed. "Not games, just problems to solve. Earth taught us that everything is trying to kill you, so you might as well enjoy the challenge." The transport to Gehenna Prime was a massive military vessel designed for prisoner transport. The ship's captain, a gray-skinned alien named Tor, briefed them on the planet's dangers as they approached. "The criminal population is kept in check by the environment," he explained. "The planet itself is a prison. Nothing can survive on the surface without proper protection." Through the ship's windows, they could see Johanna Prime growing larger. The planet's surface was a swirling mass of storm clouds and toxic gases. Lightning flickered through the atmosphere like angry serpents. The drop zone is in the northern continent, Captain Tor continued. You will have 30 days to complete your objectives and reach the extraction point. The planet's wildlife is highly aggressive, and the weather can change without warning. When they landed, Jake and Lisa were amazed by how familiar the environment felt. The landscape was similar to Earth's tundra, with rocky outcroppings and hardy vegetation. The air was thin and cold, but no worse than high-altitude conditions they had experienced before. The other cadets emerged from the transport in their full environmental suits. They moved carefully, their equipment whirring and beeping as it worked to keep them alive. Jake and Lisa wore simple cold-weather gear and breathed the planet's atmosphere through basic filters. Your first objective, Commander Velinoff announced over the radio, is to establish a base camp within 48 hours. The location must be defensible and provide shelter from the elements. While the other cadets struggled with their bulky equipment, Jake and Lisa set off to explore the area. They found a series of caves that would provide natural shelter. The caves were dry and protected from the wind, with a natural spring providing fresh water. This will work, Lisa said, examining the cave system. We can build a fire here without the smoke giving away our position. They spent the next day preparing the base camp. Jake gathered wood for fires while Lisa hunted for food. The planet's wildlife was aggressive, as promised, but no more dangerous than the bears and wolves they had encountered on Earth. When a pack of six-legged predators attacked their camp, Jake and Lisa fought them off with improvised weapons. The creatures were fast and had sharp teeth, but they were used to hunting prey that relied on technology for protection. They were not prepared for humans who could fight back with primitive weapons and tactical thinking. Impressive. Kor's voice crackled over the radio. How did you defeat them so easily? They hunt like wolves, Lisa replied. We have dealt with wolves before. The other cadets began to realize that Jake and Lisa were not just surviving on Gehenna Prime. They were thriving. While the aliens huddled in their environmental suits, the humans ranged freely across the landscape. They drank from streams that would corrode alien equipment. They ate plants that registered as poisonous to other species. They slept in the open under conditions that would require medical treatment for most galactic citizens. The turning point came during the third week. A massive storm system moved across the continent, bringing hurricane-force winds and freezing rain. The other cadets took shelter in their reinforced temporary bases, but their equipment began to fail under the extreme conditions. Life support failing, Vex reported over the radio. Seeking emergency shelter. Power systems down, Groot added. Cannot maintain bioshield. Jake and Lisa used the storm as an opportunity. They moved through the chaos with practiced ease, completing objectives while the others were pinned down. They rescued Kor when his armor's heating system failed, carrying him to safety through conditions that would have killed him. They found Vex unconscious in his failed environmental suit and performed emergency repairs while the storm raged around them. They helped Groot reach shelter when his bioshield collapsed, their human ingenuity solving problems that advanced technology could not. How are you doing this? Commander Velinoff asked over the radio. The storm conditions are beyond survivable limits. This is a normal winter storm, Jake replied. We have seen worse. By the time the storm passed, Jake and Lisa had completed not only their own objectives, but had also helped rescue their alien friends. They had demonstrated that humans did not just survive on Deathworlds. They considered extreme conditions to be normal operating parameters. The extraction point was on the far side of the continent, requiring a week-long journey through some of the planet's most dangerous terrain. The other cadets' equipment was damaged from the storm, making travel difficult. Jake and Lisa took point, using their natural abilities to guide the group safely. They found paths through unstable ground that would have trapped the heavier environmental suits. They identified safe water sources and edible plants that the alien scanners had missed. When they encountered the planet's apex predator, a massive creature that hunted by sensing electronic equipment, Jake and Lisa's low-tech approach saved everyone. They led the group in a coordinated attack using improvised weapons, driving off the creature, while the aliens' high-tech gear would have made them easy targets. "Your species is remarkable," Kor said as they made camp on the final night. "You treat this hellish world like a playground." "Not a playground," Lisa corrected. "A classroom. Earth taught us that survival is not about having the best equipment. It is about adapting to whatever conditions you face." "And about helping your friends," Jake added. "No one survives alone." When the extraction ship arrived, Commander Velenoth was waiting with a full medical team. He expected to find exhausted cadets barely clinging to life. Instead, he found Jake and Lisa helping their alien friends with their equipment, all of them having successfully completed the mission. "This is unprecedented," he admitted. "Your performance has exceeded all expectations." Dr. Kala ran her scans. "On both humans, remarkable adaptations," she reported. "Their bodies have adjusted to the planet's conditions without any external assistance. Blood chemistry changes, metabolic adjustments, enhanced immune responses. It is as if they were designed for this environment." "We were," Jake said simply. "Just not this specific one. Earth taught us to adapt to anything." The flight back to the academy was quiet. The alien cadets sat in their seats, processing what they had witnessed. Jake and Lisa had not just survived Gehenna Prime, they had made it look easy. They had rescued their friends, completed impossible objectives, and done it all while the planet tried its best to kill them. "I do not understand," Vex said finally. "Your world is classified as dangerous, but you are not physically superior to us. How do you survive conditions that would kill beings with natural armor and poison resistance?" Lisa thought about how to explain it. "You have built-in protection," she said. "That is wonderful, but it also makes you dependent on it. Humans have no natural armor, no poison resistance, no special abilities. So we learn to adapt to anything. Every human child knows that the world is dangerous," Jake added. "We learn to read the signs, to prepare for the worst, to work together when things go wrong. It is not about being stronger. It is about being ready." Groot's branches rustled thoughtfully. "Your species has turned weakness into strength." "Maybe," Jake said. "Or maybe we just learned that there is no such thing as a safe environment. Every place is dangerous in its own way. The trick is learning to live with the danger instead of fighting it." When they arrived at the academy, word of their success had already spread. Other cadets gathered to stare at the humans who had survived Gehenna Prime without protection. Instructors whispered among themselves about the implications of what they had witnessed. Commander Velenoth called Jake and Lisa to his office. The massive reptilian looked thoughtful as he reviewed their mission reports. "Your performance has raised questions," he said finally. "Questions about human capabilities, about our training methods, about what it means to be a warrior in the galaxy." "We just did what felt natural," Lisa replied. "That is precisely the problem," the commander sighed. "What feels natural to you would be impossible for most species. Your casualness about extreme danger is ... unsettling." Jake leaned forward. "Is that bad?" Commander Velenoth was quiet for a long moment. "Perhaps not," he said finally. "Perhaps. It is exactly what the galaxy needs. Warriors who do not fear the impossible because they have already lived through it." He stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. "There are threats out there that our best technology cannot protect us from. worlds where our strongest armor fails, enemies who thrive in conditions that would kill our finest soldiers. And you think humans might be able to handle those threats? Lisa asked. I think, the commander said slowly, that humans might be the key to surviving them. That night, Jake and Lisa sat in the Academy's observation deck, watching the stars. Other cadets joined them, asking questions about Earth and human survival techniques. The conversation was different now. There was no longer pity or condescension. Instead, there was respect and a growing understanding. Will you teach us? Cor asked. Your methods, your way of thinking? We can try, Jake said. But remember, we learned these things because we had to. You have natural protection that we lack. Our way is not necessarily better, just different. Different might be what we need, Vex said. My people have relied on our natural resistance for so long that we have forgotten how to adapt. All species have forgotten, Groot added. We became dependent on our natural gifts and stopped learning. Lisa nodded. That is the real difference. Humans never stopped learning because we never had the luxury of feeling safe. As the night wore on, the cadets shared stories from their homeworlds. But now the stories were different. Instead of boasting about natural abilities, they talked about challenges overcome and lessons learned. Jake and Lisa's presence had changed the dynamic of the group. Tomorrow we begin advanced combat training, Commander Velinoth announced over the intercom. All cadets will participate in new exercises designed to test adaptability rather than natural advantages. Jake and Lisa exchanged glances. It seemed their success had started something larger than they had expected. The galaxy's military was beginning to understand that survival was not about having the best protection, but about learning to adapt when that protection failed. As they prepared for sleep, Jake thought about the long journey that had brought him here. He had come to the Academy as Earth's first representative, hoping to prove that humans belonged among the galaxy's warriors. Instead, he had ended up changing how the galaxy thought about warfare itself. The real test was just beginning, the graduation. Ceremony was held in the Academy's Great Hall, a massive chamber that could hold thousands of beings. Representatives from dozens of worlds had come to witness the conclusion of the most challenging training program in the galaxy. Jake stood with his fellow cadets, wearing the simple dress uniform of the Galactic Defense Force. Commander Velinoth approached the podium, his red eyes scanning the assembled crowd. Today we honor a new class of warriors, he began, his voice carrying across the vast space. They have faced challenges that would break most beings. They have survived conditions that would kill the unprepared. They have learned what it means to be defenders of the galaxy. He paused, looking directly at Jake and Lisa. But this class has taught us something as well. They have shown us that strength comes not from natural advantages, but from the ability to adapt when those advantages fail. The commander gestured to a large screen that showed footage from the Gehenna Prime exercise. The assembled crowd watched in amazement as Jake and Lisa moved through the hostile environment without protection, rescuing their alien friends and completing impossible objectives. 2 cadets completed this exercise without environmental suits, Commander Velinoth continued. They breathed poisonous air, survived freezing temperatures, and fought off predators using nothing but their natural abilities. They did not do this because they are physically superior to other species. They did it because they come from a world that taught them to adapt to anything. Dr. Kala approached the podium next. My research has revealed something remarkable about human physiology, she announced. Their bodies can adapt to extreme conditions with unprecedented speed. But more importantly, their minds are trained to find solutions when traditional methods fail. She activated a holographic display showing human brain scans. Notice the enhanced activity in the problem-solving centers. Human brains are literally wired for adaptation. They do not panic when their equipment fails, because they have learned to survive without it. The crowd murmured in amazement. Many of the alien representatives had never seen anything like it. Species that had relied on natural protection for millions of years were witnessing beings who had learned to thrive without any built-in advantages. "This changes everything," whispered Admiral Zarthok, the military commander of the Rigel system. "If humans can survive anywhere, fight anywhere, adapt to anything, they would be the perfect soldiers for impossible missions," completed General Vextar of the Centauri Federation. Commander Velenoth raised his hand for silence. "The human cadets have achieved the highest scores in Academy history. Not because they are stronger or faster than other species, but because they approach challenges differently. They see problems where others see impossibilities." He turned to Jake and Lisa. Cadets Martinez and Harper stepped forward. They walked to the center of the stage, their simple uniforms contrasting with the elaborate dress of the alien dignitaries. Jake felt the weight of hundreds of eyes upon him, but he stood straight and proud. "Your performance has exceeded all expectations," the commander said. "You have not only survived our most challenging exercises, but you have revolutionized our understanding of what it means to be a warrior." He handed them both ceremonial swords, ancient weapons that symbolize the warrior's oath. "You have shown us that the greatest weapon is not armor or technology, but the ability to adapt and overcome." Lisa accepted her sword with a slight bow. "We learned from the best teacher," she said. "Our world taught us that survival is not about being the strongest. It is about being the most adaptable." Jake nodded in agreement. "Humans do not see extreme conditions as obstacles to overcome. We see them as normal parts of life. That is why we do not fear them." The ceremony continued with the traditional oaths and commissions. Each cadet received their assignment to various military units throughout the galaxy. When Jake's name was called, he was assigned to the Deep Space Reconnaissance Division, units that explored the most dangerous and unknown regions of space. Lisa received a commission with the Hostile Environment Combat Team, specialists who fought in conditions too extreme for normal soldiers. Both assignments were considered among the most prestigious and dangerous in the military. After the ceremony, the cadets gathered for a final meal together. The atmosphere was both celebratory and sad, as they knew they would soon be scattered across the galaxy. But the bonds formed during their training would last forever. "I will miss this," Kor said, his rocky face showing emotion for the first time. "We have become a family." "The best kind of family," Vex added, "one that chooses to be together." Groot's branches rustled softly. "You humans have taught us to see with new eyes. We thought strength came from what we were born with. You showed us it comes from what we choose to become." Jake raised his glass of water. "To adaptation," he said simply. "To adaptation," the others echoed. The next morning, Jake prepared to leave for his first assignment. As he packed his few belongings, he reflected on how much had changed since his arrival at the Academy. He had come as Earth's first representative, hoping to prove that humans belonged among the galaxy's warriors. Instead, he had ended up changing how the galaxy thought about warfare itself. Commander Velenoth visited him before his departure. "Your success has had far-reaching consequences," he said. "Military commands throughout the galaxy are requesting human soldiers. Earth has received formal requests for additional cadets." "That is good news," Jake replied. "Humans like challenges." "There is more," the commander continued. "The Academy is implementing new training programs based on human methods. We are teaching other species to adapt rather than rely solely on their natural abilities." Jake smiled. "That sounds like a good idea." "It is revolutionary," the commander said. "For millions of years, galactic military doctrine has been based on maximizing natural advantages. You have shown us that the greatest advantage is having no fixed advantages at all." As Jake boarded the transport that would take him to his new assignment, He thought about the long journey that had brought him here. He had started as a young man from Colorado who wanted to serve his species. Now he was a symbol of human adaptability and resilience. The transport lifted off from the academy, carrying him toward the unknown dangers of deep space. But Jake felt no fear, only excitement. Whatever challenges awaited him, he knew he could adapt to them. Earth had taught him that survival was not about having the best equipment or the strongest armor. It was about being ready for anything. Lisa's transport departed an hour later, taking her to a war zone where the enemy used biological weapons that dissolved traditional protection. She was not worried. She had grown up in Alaska, where everything from the weather to the wildlife was actively trying to kill her. An alien war zone would just be another Tuesday. As both transports disappeared into the vastness of space. Commander Velinoth stood in the Academy's observation deck, watching them go. He had trained thousands of warriors over the centuries, but none had impressed him like these two humans. They had not just passed the Academy's tests. They had rewritten the rules of what it meant to be a warrior in the galaxy. They had shown that the greatest strength came not from natural advantages, but from the ability to adapt when those advantages failed. The galaxy was about to learn what it meant to have humans as allies, and the universe would never be the same. Dr. Kala approached the commander, carrying a datapad with her latest research. "The brain scans are fascinating," she said. "Human neural patterns show constant adaptation, even in safe environments. It is as if their minds are always preparing for the next challenge." "That is because they are," the commander replied. "They come from a world where safety is an illusion. They have learned to expect the unexpected." "I have a theory, Doctor," Kala continued. "What if this is not unique to humans? What if every species has this potential, but we have forgotten how to use it?" Commander Velinoff considered this. An interesting thought. Perhaps the humans have not just shown us their own capabilities, but reminded us of capabilities we once had. "The new training programs will test that theory," Dr. Kala said. "If other species can learn to adapt like humans, it could change the entire balance of galactic power." "Change is coming whether we are ready or not," the commander said. "The humans have started something that cannot be stopped. The question is whether we will adapt to it or be left behind." As the two aliens discussed the implications of human achievement, word was spreading throughout the galaxy. The species that had once seemed fragile and weak had revealed themselves to be the most dangerous warriors in known space. Not because they were stronger or faster than other beings, but because they had learned to thrive in conditions that would kill anyone else. They had turned their homeworld's attempts to kill them into the ultimate training program. The Deathworld called. Earth had produced the perfect soldiers. And now they were loose in the galaxy, ready to adapt to whatever challenges awaited them. The universe was about to become a much more interesting place.